Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. So today we're going over the updated numbers out of the state of California in the Los Angeles mayor's race and in the California governor's race. There's been a little bit of movement on the governor's race, though not a super significant amount. The Los Angeles race, though, however, there is a big movement and a very big update. We can officially make a projection in this race, or Decision Desk HQ did as well. So we're going to break all the information down for you in this video here. So the main news out of today is we've been expecting this the last few days. The votes have been coming in very strongly day by day for Nithya Raman. Yesterday's video that I had for you that came out at 3 p.m. Eastern time, which had all the votes from Saturday. Now this video obviously coming out Monday at 3 has all the votes updated for Sunday. And what it shows was Spencer Pratt was leading over Nithya Raman, I believe, by, I want to say about 7,000 votes, I think it was. I think it was like 180. I want to say it was like 184 to 176 or something like that in the video. Again, you can definitely go back and check and make sure what it is, if I'm right or if I'm wrong. But votes came in out of Los Angeles today. It was 83% of the vote in. Now we're at 87% of the vote in. So still another 13%. So still another like probably, what's that, a few thousands, another like few 20, 30,000 votes or so still to come in out of Los Angeles, but now 87% of the vote is in, and officially a call has been made in this race. We do know that Karen Bass is the first place finisher. She has been, for the last like 4 days now, in the top two, knowing she would go to the general election. The question would be ultimately, who would be the second place candidate to face off against her in the general? Now, Spencer Pratt has had a lead on election night. He was in second place, around above 30% of the vote. Nithya Raman on election, I believe, had around like 21%. And then over the last few days, as more of these vote dumps will come in out of Los Angeles, these vote by mail results, Nithya Raman's numbers have been getting better and better each day. Spencer Pratt has been polling, or the results have been coming in for Pratt in a distant third place in each of these dumps here. And now at 87% of the vote in, officially today, Nithya Raman did pass Spencer Pratt. Raman is at 196,198 votes for about 27.12% of the overall vote across the city of Los Angeles. Spencer Pratt now is in third place with 193,085 votes, 26.69% of the vote across the city of Los Angeles. So Raman takes the lead over Spencer Pratt by only 3,000 votes, and within like mere minutes of the vote dump coming in, Decision Desk HQ and Vote Hub immediately called this race for Nithya Raman. And you may be wondering, it's only a 3,000 vote lead. Why is it being called for Raman? Why aren't they waiting for the rest of the votes to come in, given how close it is? On percentage, is only a difference of like 0.4%. But the main reason that they did this was, as I mentioned, these these vote by mail results are a lot more Democratic friendly than the early vote and the election day vote. And we've seen that in all these vote dumps in recent days. Not only has Nithya Raman been doing well, but she's been doing very well, either polling in first place or second place. But Spencer Pratt in these dumps have never come close to matching Raman or Bass's numbers. So for Spencer Pratt to somehow come back in this race, he would have had to have won probably the last like big vote dump out of Los Angeles by a pretty considerable amount to make up the margins over Raman, as Raman's expected. I'm not sure 100% on the number, but let's just say there's about 50,000 votes left to come in. Pratt would have to basically beat Raman at least by getting net 3,000 votes. So it'd probably be like, I don't know, 25,000 to like 10,000 to bring to 35 and 15,000 maybe. But that's just not going to happen. These are very Democratic vote dumps. The math for Pratt to be the second place candidate, the second, and I mentioned this in the video yesterday as well, if you watched it, which if you did, by the way, we appreciate you doing so. The math was just getting increasingly harder for Spencer Pratt each day as more votes have come in. Nithya Raman has been surging in the vote dumps coming in out of the vote by mail, and it's continued. We're now with 87% of the vote in. Raman has officially passed Pratt, and immediately Decision Desk HQ and Vote Hub makes those projections due to the fact that there's just no path for Pratt to come back when the remaining votes are still going to be very heavily Democratic. We're likely going to see Nithya Raman expand on her lead over Spencer Pratt with the final few votes that do come in. So now the mayor's race, for all intents and purposes, for this primary is now essentially over. We know it's going to be Bass versus Raman. There's still going to be waiting to see what the results end up being finalized, but we know Bass versus Raman will go to the general election. I do have a few things I want to show first. First, I want to point out the precinct map from 2024, where the Los Angeles County as a whole, not just the city of Los Angeles, but Los Angeles County as a whole, voted for Donald Trump by 31.91%. I'm not 100% sure if this is correct, but I'm pretty confident. I've seen reports online saying that Donald Trump got about 24 to 25%, I think it is, of the vote in Los Angeles, the city, in the 2024 presidential election. So for all the talk about Spencer Pratt, and he is a registered Republican, but he was running a campaign of trying to get as many voters as possible, Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. He's currently getting about the same percentage of the vote, roughly, of what Donald Trump did in that election. Now, there is other candidates in the race as well. For instance, Adam Miller, Ray Chen Wang, Juanita Lopez, Andrew Kim, Susie Kim, all these candidates down here that are accounting for not a large amount, but probably like a combined 7 to 8% of the vote, probably across all of Los Angeles here. So it's possible Los Angeles did have more Republican turnout than President Trump got in 2024, but Pratt, as the main Republican candidate in this race, getting about that same number that Trump did, not a significant more than that. And this is what we were talking about in this race, even when Pratt was in the lead, and it looked like we may see a Bass versus Pratt matchup in the general election, was you look at the combined votes here. About 34.7% for Karen Bass and another 27% for Nithya Raman. Those two vote numbers are well over 50% of the vote if you just combine the top two Democratic candidates, not even accounting for the rest of the candidates down ballot, who, again, they don't list, it's nonpartisan, they don't say which candidates are with which party, but in Los Angeles, I'd guarantee most of these candidates are probably Democrats over Republicans. And Spencer Pratt, just even if he got to the general election, would have been running as a Republican in one of the most Democratic cities in all of the United States against the incumbent mayor. He was not going to win that general election, but it still would have given Republicans a little bit of optimism and hope of, well, still, he made it to the general election. That's pretty big in such a heavily Democratic area. But now we officially know it'll be Karen Bass versus Nithya Raman. So I want to point out that precinct map one more time, just to make that known. In terms of the polling, we'll do one final polling check here. Again, heading into the race, this is where things stood. Karen Bass was in first place at 26.4. Spencer Pratt was in third place at 18.4, or second place, excuse me. And Nithya Raman was in third place at 15.9. Though, again, a lot of undecided vote in this race, and that was a very important factor in this race, is what those undecided voters ultimately did. And basically, sort of similar to my election night prediction, I did have Pratt winning over Raman, so that was incorrect, but I only had Pratt defeating Raman, I think by I forget if it was under 1 point or under 2 points, because I said there's going to be a lot of undecided vote that's going to split pretty evenly for Pratt versus Raman, and whichever candidate finishes second, it's going to be a close result. Ultimately, that did happen, but Nithya Raman was the candidate that got more of that undecided vote as those mail-in votes came in. In terms of the market odds now, we can officially look towards the general election, and things have narrowed very, very significantly since Nithya Raman won this primary. Again, just to give you an idea here, we can go to June 2nd. This is when the election took place here. June 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Karen Bass, 66.5% chance to win. Spencer Pratt is at 21% chance. Nithya Raman is at 11.5%. We can go a few days later to June 5th. Karen Bass, 66.5, Nithya Raman, 29.35, Spencer Pratt, 5.5, becoming very clear as more results came in that Pratt just really did not have a pathway to victory. This was in the last week or so, and you just see Pratt's numbers go from about 23 points on June 2nd down now to about literally zero today, about 1% now. Nithya Raman and Karen Bass, though, in terms of the odds on Polymarket, have gotten very, very close. Raman, again, June 3rd, 16% now. Nithya Raman's at 45% chance to win. Karen Bass is at 54% chance to win. And I've talked about some of these points before, but it's going to be interesting because Karen Bass, as the incumbent mayor of Los Angeles, got 34.68% of the vote. For an incumbent mayor, that's not a very large amount. That means roughly 66% of voters said they want someone other than you to be the mayor in the race. So now that it's not Bass versus a Republican and Pratt, now it's Bass versus Raman, another Democrat who's running to the left of Karen Bass. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. The odds clearly show a significant movement in the direction of Nithya Raman. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. In terms of the Kalshi odds here, kind of similar. Karen Bass is at 60%, Nithya Raman's at 40%. A little bit of like a 5-point gain for Bass there, but it is definitely narrowing up as time is going on the Kalshi side of things as well. So for the general election now, Karen Bass versus Nithya Raman, the real race essentially starts, because instead of seeing like a over 20-point Democratic win in the general election, like what Bass versus Pratt was probably going to end up being, now with two Democrats running, it's going to be a more competitive race. We did have, I do believe, I may have it up still, if not I may have closed it, but the 2022 Los Angeles mayor's race, we did see something similar to this take place in that election when Karen Bass won for the first time. In the first round, Karen Bass got 43.1%. Rick Caruso got 35.99%, so about 36%. So overall, a net advantage of roughly about 7 points, but Bass already had 43% of the vote locked up. This time around, Karen Bass is leading by roughly about that 7-point margin or so. I mean, really it's about 7.5% if you want to get technical. So she has that about 7-point lead as well, like she did in the last race. But the vote numbers, I think, are important. At 34.68% as the incumbent, who's certainly been blamed, especially by Spencer Pratt, for the Palisades fires and all of that, and her job as mayor, she's only getting about 34.68%, whereas in 2022, she got up to 43%. And then in the runoff, she got 54.83%. Rick Caruso still got 45.17%. So in terms of the general election, can Nithya Raman beat Karen Bass? I would say, yeah, she definitely very well could. It's going to be interesting to see how they consolidate vote and what the early polling shows in this race, because right now, to me, it seems there's a lot of appetite for a candidate other than Karen Bass. Nithya Raman will officially be that candidate. Now, it is going to be interesting because Spencer Pratt, even though he did lose this race, he did get nearly 27% of the vote. That's a very sizable chunk, especially for a Republican in the city of Los Angeles. What do those voters do? Do they show up and vote? Do they decide not to show up and vote? If they do get out and vote, do they basically go, I don't like Karen Bass, but I don't want someone farther left than her getting elected, so I'll vote for her? Do they say, you know what, I really don't like Karen Bass so much, I'd rather take my chances on Nithya Raman? Do they vote for her? Maybe they just decide to stay home and not vote at all. So it's going to be interesting to see here, but the general election race, I think, is going to be very close in Los Angeles, and I can't wait to see more of how that goes. In terms of Vote Hub here, they don't have anything, I don't believe, on the actual election result numbers out of Los Angeles for today. They do have some out of the California governor's race in some of these counties. Calaveras County had a vote drop here that came in where Tom Steyer gained roughly about 5 points, about 4.9% on Steve Hilton there. And let's see, for June 7th in Laston County, this was from the drop from June 6th, but here Bianco and Hilton, small amount of votes, but they gain about 2.3%. Steyer goes down a little bit there, about half percentage points. So that's not good numbers for Tom Steyer. And then Shasta County, Hilton and Bianco both go up, and Steyer goes down 1.7. So today, there wasn't a significant amount of movement in the governor's race. I'll show you the numbers overall here. Becerra still, as we know, is advancing the general election. He'll be one of the two candidates. Steve Hilton has a lead over Tom Steyer at 74% of the vote in, 25.86% for Hilton, 21.5% for Steyer, a 4.3% lead across the entire state in terms of overall percentages. When looking at actual votes here, you're looking, let's see, about a little bit under 300,000 vote lead for Hilton over Steyer. Now, there is enough votes left out there for Steyer to come back, but the odds show very likely that Steve Hilton has the advantage right now. Hilton is currently the favorite at 96% to advance to the general election here. Let's see if they have the last chart for the week or so. We saw on June 2nd that Becerra was in first place. Obviously, Hilton was around the 70%, but Tom Steyer went down, that his numbers started going back up as more of these vote-by-mail results came in that have given Nithya Raman enough votes to jump into the top two. A lot of optimism that Tom Steyer may have that as well. Steyer even jumping over Hilton at 4 a.m. on June 5th, and then June 5th at 9 a.m. as well. And then as more of these results have come in thus far, Steve Hilton has gone back up and has surged now to 96% likely to win. Tom Steyer's at 6% to win. And you may be wondering, well, why is that the case? Well, at 26% of the vote in, or 26% of the vote to go, 74% in here, Steyer has to break or has to make up 302,000 votes just to tie with Steve Hilton. It's certainly an uphill climb. But where he has to do it, we can look at overall by total registration, the largest counties in California. 84% of the vote is in Los Angeles. This is an area, obviously, that's very good for Tom Steyer. He's gaining votes on Steve Hilton as more of these votes come in. But at 84% in, he would likely, given the gains that he's getting in places like Orange County, where Steyer's grown a little bit, but Steve Hilton's doing very strongly there. Even in a place like San Diego, where Steyer's making some gains, but he's still likely running behind a little bit where he needs to do as well. The number I've heard is, I think it's 17% now. Tom Steyer has to get net wins over Steve Hilton, about 17% in these vote dumps to advance for the to get into the top two. And there's not as much vote out of Los Angeles left. I mean, there's still a good amount of vote of about 1.8 million cast, another 16% to go. So that could be like another 200,000 votes or so out of LA. But if that number was at like 60% of the vote still, and there was another like million votes to come in or something, I think we very well would be looking at a Steyer win in this race here. But the amount of areas that are coming in for Steyer. They're coming in decently strong for him, but they're not exceeding those margins. For instance, Nithya Raman needed a net gain, I think it was, of about 8 points over Spencer Pratt to jump him for second place. She was getting anywhere from like 14 to 22% in those ballot dumps. And Tom Steyer just hasn't gone that right now. So far, that's why you see Hilton as such a strong favorite in this race, is so far with the votes that Steyer's been getting, the race has been narrowing up. It's now only about a 4.3% lead for Hilton over Steyer. I think when things are ultimately done here, we're probably looking at Hilton winning between like 1.5 to 2 points. So it's going to get close, but the question at this point about Steyer isn't, is it going to get close or not? Because we know it will. It's, will it be enough for Steyer to actually jump Hilton once all these votes are come in? Based on what we've seen the last few days, it looks like to me that Steyer's going to fall a little bit short. But if vote dumps, for instance, like out of LA or San Diego or Orange County, three of the largest in the state, or even Riverside County, come in super strong for Tom Steyer and really upend the race, it's still possible. That's why this race has not been called yet from Decision Desk HQ, because there is still a mathematical chance for Tom Steyer to come back, but he would have to have vote dumps that definitely exceed the margins he's been getting to make up for a lot of these areas, because we know Steyer's been doing well in the Bay Area, he's been doing well in Los Angeles, and he's been doing better in San Diego. Still likely not where he needs, but he's been doing better as more votes have come in. But throughout the central part of the state, these areas that are smaller but are heavily Republican, Tom Steyer has not been getting anything he needs to in these areas, which is not really too unexpected, but he has been doing well enough. Sacramento even, only getting 18.5%. That's not good enough for Tom Steyer to advance. Yolo County, he's getting about 22.04%, but again, smaller in population, needs to do better there as well. Sonoma County is a big opportunity here. 51% of the vote in, so still another, what's that? I want to get an exact number, probably like 100,000 or so votes left to go in Sonoma County. There are opportunities for Steyer to come back in this race. Based on what's come in thus far, it's enough to make it closer, but not enough to take the lead. But there is enough vote left out there, per se, for Steyer to come back. So that's kind of just what we're waiting on there. So in terms of the update for Monday, June 8th, where things currently stand, the Los Angeles race, the primary race is, for all intents and purposes, done. Nithya Raman officially jumped Spencer Pratt and is the second place finisher in that race. The governor's race, the results are still ongoing, even though it looks like Steve Hilton has a stronger chance of defeating Tom Steyer and staying in the top two. That race is still ongoing as of today. For now, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you've enjoyed watching these videos as well if you've seen all that I've done so far for this race. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see as they come in. Should have more results over the next few days as well. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit like and subscribe if you did, and I hope to see you in a future video.